Your home for our Atlanta Falcons, Hawks, and Atlanta United. Your teams play here. Sports Radio 92.9, The Game.
From ESPN.com, Michael Rothstein, who's been out there since day one of camp, mini camps as well. Hey, right off the jump, Michael, what do you got as far as what's the number one position battle for depth right now in your mind for the Falcons?
Oh, wow. That we're starting there. That tells you the importance of tonight's game, right? No,
yes, it does.
I mean, listen, there's a few. I would look at the swing tackle spots, like kind of the third and fourth tackle. Arthur Smith was very open, I guess it was a week and a half ago going into the last game against Cincinnati. That was a huge week for Jalen Mayfield to try and win that job, and he spent all of this week working with the third team, as Josh Miles was the second team left tackle, and Tyler Vrabel, the second team right tackle. So I think that's a really interesting job situation between those three guys right now for one or maybe two spots. And it's entirely possible, by the way, that third tackle and fourth tackle may be hanging out somewhere else in the NFL right now. Mm-hmm. And we'll find that out. That's something to think of, too, when we're talking about all of these positional battles that we're looking for tonight, as I do not anticipate many, if any, starters playing. The other ones, so maybe some of the depth corner, maybe like that last corner spot. Mm-hmm. Does Darren Hall do enough to hold on to that? The fourth safety spot, to me, it's hard for DeMarco Hellams to not be on the roster with the way he's played in the preseason, but Mike Abernathy continues to run with the twos and is a pretty good player. So does Abernathy do something, or maybe Hellams do something to force them to keep five safeties on that initial 53 because they're worried about losing one of those guys during the waiver process and during kind of cuts. So those are some spots. The fourth, I will give you one that probably a lot of people are not thinking about. The fourth linebacker spot. And I can't believe we're talking about the fourth linebacker spot here on Dukes and Bell, but here we are. The fourth linebacker spot between Tay Davis and Mike Jones Jr. Mike Jones Jr. has kind of made a push here, I would say, in the last week or so to maybe snag a spot on this roster. Tay Davis has run largely with first-team special teams, and that's a pretty good indicator of guys who will end up on the roster in those depth spots. But Mike Jones Jr., when Caden Ellis was not really doing so much and Nate Landman gets hurt during practice, gets hit in the groin, it was Mike Jones Jr. that got some of those reps instead of Tay Davis next to Troy Anderson. Again, because Caden Ellis also wasn't doing a lot at that point in time. So that tells you some of that depth. I mean, that's kind of what you're looking at. Maybe, the fourth or fifth receiver. And really kick returner, I guess, except for the fact that it's probably Cordero Patterson. And if he's not ready, one would think at this point Godwin Igwebuike has probably done enough to be there, because also if Patterson's not ready, then he can become your third running back up on game days along with your kick returner. In a lot of ways, very similar to what Cordero Patterson would be if and when he gets healthy.
What do you think about, we've been discussing over the last couple of days, Michael Rothstein, about the decision about how you didn't play the starters in the opener against Miami, you're not going to play the starters tonight against Pittsburgh, and Desmond Ridder coming out saying, well, I think we're in pretty good shape, but we have some things we want to clean up. I didn't want to hear him say, we have things we want to clean up. If you want to do that, do it now. Are we good going into this opener against Carolina in 2 weeks, that they're going to be okay?
I think they'll be all right. We never really know. Keep in mind, too, part of the equation when we're talking about starters playing or not playing tonight, Drew Dahlman, their starting center, Chris Lindstrom, their starting right guard, and maybe the best player on their team if you talk about talent, pure talent, and certainly paid like it in terms of his position. They did not practice on Tuesday. It sounds like they're dealing with something very, very minor. I don't anticipate this being something that will be an issue or would be an issue if this were week one of the regular season. But they want to be safe and smart with that. So if you're starting center and you're starting right guard or maybe dealing with something that you don't necessarily want to play them, why would you put in your starting quarterback? Like, what purpose would that serve you? That just seems like that's tempting fate, and the number one thing that you want to do, and the number one thing that any team will tell you if you really put them like attachment or truth serum type thing is very simple. The most important thing for the players are going to be on your roster in the fall, don't get them hurt in the preseason.
Well, but let me argue the other part of this, Michael, and because we went through this with Coach Bro here. I mean, he put guys in bubble wrap, and then they came out so slow. And even, at times, the game against Philadelphia always comes to mind because he even admitted, Dan Quinn did, that after the game that we were not prepared. I mean, oh, my God. And so he said that. I mean, and we went to, asked Mike. I mean, we all went crazy on that. This start to this season is so critical. You got 4 home games of the first 6. You got to come out. You have to be heading to week 7. You better be 4-2 at the worst. And so, you can't afford to stumble out of the gate here.
No, I agree. No, I don't think they can, especially because you're getting a team starting a rookie quarterback in week 1, a team without a ton in Carolina, a team that doesn't have a ton of bankable offensive players that will be incredibly productive. Miles Sanders is a good player. Adam Thielen was a very, very good player at one time. We'll see what he is now. DJ Shark, apparently, I think he left practice in Carolina. What was it, today, yesterday? So at some point this week, I saw an alert come over that he is dealing with some sort of injury. I don't know the severity of that. So, I would agree with you. Now, Carolina's defense is very good. But I guess I'm not as concerned because also the one drive we did see of the Falcons starting offense against Cincinnati's defense, the Bengals defense, pretty good, and they played almost all of their starters. They did on offense. They did on defense. They drove right down the field, and that interception that Desmond Ridder threw was not Desmond Ridder's fault. Like, that was a tip ball situation. Don't exactly know whether Scotty Miller even ran the right route. I am not concerned about their offensive flow at this point. I think by now, in year 3, Arthur Smith has a pretty good handle on this. And I get your point. I understand your point, but every team, this is a long season, and it's kind of like golf. This is how I look at it. The old Masters saying of you can't win the Masters on day 1, but you sure as heck can lose it. Well, if you play your starters too much and a starter gets hurt again, like let's just say Kyle Pitts got hurt again, or Ritter or Drake London. Well, cool for you, because what did you do right there? You lost your season or part of your season if it's significant before you even got to a game that matters. Like, there's a tough balance. I get that, but if I were a coach, I would always want to err on the side of caution, especially if I like the work that I've gotten. And I like the physicality that I've gotten. I can tell you, Arthur Smith really likes the physicality and the work he's gotten from his team so far in this camp.
It is Michael Rothstein, guys, from ESPN. Read him on ESPN.com. Follow him on Twitter as well. Give you updates on the Falcons. We spent the entire offseason on what Desmond Ridder is or isn't. Michael, just from your opinion, I thought the ball was coming out so much quicker and decision-making was happening much faster than it started at the beginning of camp. If you fast forward to what he did against the Bengals, what did you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, some of the same issues are still there, right? Like, he throws a wide open pass, or he throws a pass rather to a wide open Kyle Pitts. The ball's thrown a little bit behind him instead of in stride. Now, Kyle Pitts caught it, made a really nice catch. If anything, it told you, hey, look, Kyle Pitts might be fine. But you see that and you say, okay, that's maybe something that you got to keep an eye on. But other than that, I thought Desmond Ridder was very good with his decision making, and I thought he was making the right reads more often than not. And it's not like he threw the ball completely. I mean, listen, we saw it last year, right? Marcus Mariota sometimes threw the ball and it wasn't within 5 yards of his guy, and it wasn't a purposeful overthrow. It just didn't come out right. We haven't seen that with Desmond Ridder. Didn't see it against the Bengals. Saw it a little bit early in camp, but not as much, I'd say, in the last week or two being out there. He looks like he's getting into form. Now, I'm not saying he's going to – anyone who tells you, and I think I said this when I was on the show last time too, anyone who tells you they know what Desmond Ridder is going to be this year is lying to you, because we don't know. No one can truly know until we actually see it in the game that the win or the loss or the tie, I guess, matters. Like that, we will not know probably, I would guess, for 3 or 4 weeks of what Desmond Ridder really is capable of being. And don't forget, he's still only had 4 starts. So this is something that could grow throughout the year. And I anticipate it. I think there's going to be some ups and downs with Desmond Ridder this year. And honestly, if there's not, then that's either a very, very good thing for Atlanta, or at some point this year, Taylor Heinicke's going to win that job. And I would probably bet on the first thing versus the second thing.
Well, we always appreciate the input, Michael. Again, it drives everyone crazy. Preseason is, especially for me as a season ticket holder. I hate paying full freight for this.
Oh, listen, no one is happier that training camp is over than me. Well, I take that back. Some of the players might be, but I get it. I'm with everybody else. Let's get the regular season here at this point. The game will happen tonight. We'll see guys. And listen, you're going to see some guys really compete for jobs. But also remember this, and I just want to end on this because I think it's so important. Like, there are going to be between tomorrow, probably not tonight, but between Friday and Tuesday at 4 o'clock, there are going to be people who get cut. And I just want to say this to people as kind of my soapbox thing. Do not celebrate somebody getting cut. Yeah, you might not think he's good at football, but at the end of the day, understand these are guys getting fired from jobs. Right. And just think what it would be like if someone celebrated you being fired. So just have that in the back of your head when you're talking about, not you guys, but I'm saying fans in general, because sometimes I see it all the time on my Twitter account. Like, I can't believe, I'm so excited. I'm like, really? Slow down, guys.
Yeah.
Slow down here.
You're right. At the end of the day, that's a dude who's trying to make his way in the NFL.